There we go. Good morning. I am Ward 4 Councilmember Janeese Lewis George, Chair of the Committee on Facilities, and it is 11:06 a.m. on Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. We are holding this performance oversight hearing via a hybrid format. Public witnesses are testifying via Zoom and in person here in room 123 of the John A. Wilson Building, and government witnesses are testifying in person. The hearing is also being broadcast live on my website at janeeseward4.com/live. Here are some brief reminders about the committee's protocols for witnesses participating virtually today. All witnesses participating in this Zoom webinar are currently listed as attendees. When it's your turn to join a panel for testimony, I will call your name and a member of my staff will promote you to be a panelist. If you wish to activate your video while you testify, you need to click the button in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen that looks like a video camera. Public witnesses from bona fide organizations will be given 5 minutes to testify. All other public witnesses will be given 3 minutes. When your time is up, I ask that you please conclude your remarks so that we stay on schedule. If you have any technical issues during the hearing, please notify my staff either via the Q&A function on Zoom or by sending an email to facilities@dccouncil.gov. If you have all testimony and pre-hearing documents that have been submitted are now available on the council's hearing management system. Witnesses are reminded to please submit a written copy of your testimony for the record by either uploading your testimony to the council's hearing management system or emailing to facilities@dccouncil.gov. The record for this hearing closes at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, February 18th. With that, the annual performance oversight process is an opportunity for the executive, the council, and the public to reflect on agencies' achievements over the past fiscal year, evaluate their impact, and identify areas for growth. Today, we are here to do that for the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs. The Caribbean community is an essential part of the district's cultural and economic fabric, and MOCCA plays a vital role in ensuring that Caribbean residents have access to government services, are engaged in civic life, and are celebrated for their contributions to our community. Ward 4 has one of the largest populations of Caribbean residents in the district, which is one of the reasons I requested having MOCCA under this committee. And I remember particularly growing up going to the Caribbean Day Parade and just being so proud of our Caribbean heritage and the impact on our community. It is clear over the past year, MOCCA has expanded its outreach and engagement efforts and connected Caribbean Washingtonians to government services, cultural programming, and economic opportunities. It is clear MOCCA has worked hard to uplift and promote the vibrant traditions of our Caribbean diaspora and strengthen partnerships with local organizations and government agencies. In doing so, the agency has helped to ensure Caribbean residents are connected to resources that support housing, education, employment, small businesses support, and public safety. At the same time, our role today is also to ask thoughtful questions about where the district government can improve its providing services to Caribbean residents and MOCCA's role in making those improvements effectively and equitably. I want to thank MOCCA specifically in 2 instances where I reached out to Director Snyder. One was one of our Ward 4 businesses who were struggling to maintain Sandoval Restaurant, a business that we wanted to see remain here. And I asked him to step in and support that small business. And we were able to support them in certain ways. And we just are continuing our efforts to support our Caribbean small businesses, particularly in our area. And then one of our dear Ward 4 residents and a dear friend of mine, Tony Burnett, who's an amazing member of the Caribbean community who untimely passed away at a very young age. Director Snyder was there supporting the family, showed up at the funeral, at the repast, and was a complete support system to that family and the Caribbean community who loved her dearly. And so I want to thank personally Director Snyder for that. Before we hear from Director Snyder, we will hear from public witnesses. So we will now have our first panel of witnesses called. I would like to invite our first and only panel of public witnesses, Doreen Thompson, co-founder of the DC Caribbean Community Alliance, Sylvie Bello, Mark Beckford, Roland Roebuck, Vida Ali, and Loy Baker. If you're in person, you can come and have a seat here at the table. If you are virtual, we will be sending you the link to become a panelist. All right, I see Miss Doreen Thompson is online. Doreen, you can come off, if you can come on video and off mute, you can begin your testimony. Okay, Doreen, we will come back to you. And we will go to Mark Beckford. Good morning, Mark. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. As a private citizen, business owner of the event collective Pine and Ginger, and active member of advocacy organizations, I have witnessed firsthand the vital role that MOCCA, led by Director Natalie Snyder, plays in supporting the Caribbean diaspora in Washington, D.C. MOCCA has been instrumental in connecting our community to government resources, providing assistance during adverse weather events, and helping residents navigate opportunities such as grants, education programs, and business development initiatives. Through my involvement in the Jamaica National Association, MOCCA has supported key initiatives such as our Family Fun Day and Scholarship Awards, ensuring that families and students benefit from community-driven programs. They're working promoting Caribbean businesses such as the one that I'm a part of, Pine and Ginger, and the Art All Night initiative helped us, and also additionally providing advocacy on critical issues and ensuring equitable access to city services. I find all of that to be invaluable. As you know, MOCCA advises the mayor, the DC Council, and other government agencies on policies affecting our community, ensuring that our voices are represented in decisions that impact a wide range of issues such as housing, healthcare, employment, and economic development. Their ability to coordinate programs and advocate for Caribbean residents make them a critical resource for the district. MOCCA has, in my opinion, since I've learned about them, contributed greatly to the cultural and economic fabric of Washington, D.C. I strongly urge the expansion of the office to sustain its essential work because our community depends on it. Thanks.
Thank you. And where in the diaspora are you from?
Jamaica.
All right, y'all got a rep when y'all testify now, y'all. Yeah. Is Doreen available now? Ms. Thompson, are you here? Oh, there we go. I think you unmuted just now.
Can you hear me?
Okay, there you go. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. All right.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Glad the snow hasn't started, but I really wanted to be there in person, but I just decided to be a little careful this morning, and technology is allowing me to share with you a little bit more about who I am. I would say I'm a community organizer, never retiring community organizer, and an attorney. I have lived in the district for close to 50 years, and almost all of those 50 years in Ward 4. And as you know, Councilmember George, Ward 4 is the historical home of DC's Caribbean American community. For close to 30 years, I've been committed to having the Caribbean community recognized and celebrated through its culture. And I've assisted the district in achieving 4 significant firsts, becoming the first to officially celebrate June as Caribbean Heritage Month, becoming the first to officially recognize and celebrate Caribbean cuisine and Caribbean Restaurant Week in June, becoming the first to officially commemorate a historic contribution of its Caribbean community through public art, and becoming the first to officially establish an Office of Caribbean Affairs. I led the effort to establish that office, known as MOCCA, by creating and rallying an alliance of Caribbean American individuals and organizations. And the informal name was the DC Caribbean American Alliance. As to the establishment of this office, this is my first opportunity to continue to thank and your predecessor, former Ward 4 Councilmember Brandon Todd, members of the council, and particularly Mayor Muriel Bowser. I also want to thank you in your capacity as the Ward 4 Council member for your efforts in addressing funding for this office. As you recall, you're recognizing Caribbean American Heritage Month and for celebrating Caribbean cuisine in Ward 4. John F. Kennedy once said, "Success has many fathers, but failure is an orphan." Having experienced that personally, I would like to take this opportunity to offer for your recognition and unsung father of the creation of the Office of Caribbean Community Affairs, and that's Dr. Basil Buchanan. And many don't realize that he was instrumental in getting the ball rolling back in, I want to say, 1995, 1996, in the creation of the first Caribbean Commission in the United States. Creation of the Office of Caribbean Community Affairs gives us a seat at the table and an opportunity to harness the value of our cultural wealth. As the famous author Joseph Campbell said, cultural wealth is a rare thing among investments. It is foolproof and it never decreases in value. However, we need to make sure the office, while it has a seat at the table, has a seat of comparable height to other ethnically identified offices. This performance review is an opportunity to take a look at MOCCA's structure, how it differs from these other offices, and to patch and fix what we, the Caribbean Alliance, had recommended when this legislation and this office was being created. First, to reduce confusion and add clarity, the legislative name of the office should be aligned with its commonly identified name. As you know, in the legislation, it says the Office of Caribbean Affairs, and the office goes by the name Caribbean Community Affairs, which was what we had placed in the legislation. And we suspect someone, probably more administrative, clerical kind of change made that change, and we hope you could help us and get that corrected. I don't think that's kind of low hanging fruit. So I would appreciate that. We would appreciate that. The other thing that we think is vital is that someone also removed the commission from the legislation. And we would like to see that commission legislatively authorized. And the reason for this is because we've been around, at least I've been around long enough, the gray hair speaks for it, where we've seen different administrations come in and commissions created through mayor's orders or some informal commission disappears. And we don't want to see that happen. Change is constant. We don't know what's going to be happening in the district 10, 15 years from now. So we would like to see that placed back in the legislation. The truth is it's actually in the legislation. It's referred in the legislation as MOCCA. So that's a request we'd like to see. But third and most importantly, when we envisioned this office, we envisioned it having the same tools as other offices, which was the access to grants. And these grants there would be certain grants that are targeted to the Caribbean community. There's only so much the district government can do, whether, through its authorization, and grants process allows for a wider thinking. And what we've seen is we don't see enough of that from MOCCA. So I have my testimony, which is a lot more detailed, but I just didn't want to spend a lot of time going through it since you have it. So we hope that you can make those changes, or I should say expand. It's not heavy lifting, but it would place MOCCA in a better position. I personally would like to see the office be more structured and engage in more planning. So with that, I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Please stay on for questions. I have a few for you. Thank you. Next, we will hear from Sylvie Bello. Bonjour. Can you, I need you to turn, yeah, there we go.
Oh.
Wait, do it again. Yeah, somebody turned it on for you. Is it on? Red means go.
Oh.
No, it's not on. Thank you.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Sylvie Bello avec la Cameroon American Council. Councilwoman, my name is Sylvie Bello with the Cameroon American Council. I had requested French translation, but I'm gonna try to do this in English. At the Cameroon American Council, we are very much interested in seeing that the Mayor's Office on Caribbean Affairs has a language access staffer. We strongly feel that a lot of our Caribbean American friends and family and relatives do not have access to language access. At the Cameroon American Council, we've worked significantly with Haitians, migrants, alongside Cameroonian migrants at the southern border. And when they do get to DC, we would like for them to also have an office where they can have a language access staffer. On March 28th, 2022, 14 Cameroonian migrants along 2 Antiguans were rescued when their boat capsided. They were coming from Antigua. They were rescued near St. Kitts, and they were coming from Antigua and trying to make their way to the U.S. Virgin Islands. Cameroonians and Caribbeans through the migrant routes, be it on the water, be it on land, have continuously worked hand in hand. And when they get to DC, unfortunately, there is no staffer at the Caribbean Affairs Office that can handle language access. There are at least seven countries, well, at least nine countries in the Caribbean islands that where French is predominantly spoken or is the official language. They include Dominica, French Guinea. I hope I'm saying that right. I only know how to pronounce it in French. Hello. Guadeloupe, Haiti, Martinique, Saint Barthélemy, Saint Lucia, although English is the official language there, French is widely spoken. Saint Martin, which is, even though Dutch is the official language there, French is widely spoken. Yes, this office was created after the Language Access Act. We are asking for this, we are asking for the mayor and in addition with you, Councilwoman, to look into expanding that Language Access Act to include this office. We would also like to say that we would like for the director to spend more time including language access across their website, which is not included right now. But if they had a staffer, it would. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you. Roland is next. Roland Roebuck. Good morning.
Good morning, Councilmember George. My name is Roland Emerson Roebuck, resident of your ward, residing at 630 Emerson Street Northwest since 2010. I'm a proud member of the Commission on Caribbean Affairs, representing Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. In addition to that membership, I am a former leader of the community, of the Latino community, a member of DC Veterans for Statehood, and currently president of the Afro-Latino Institute. My testimony today is to share with you the numerous activities that our commission has effectively coordinated during the 2024-25 cycle. The commission, under the outstanding leadership of Executive Director Ms. Natalie Snyder, has effectively guided our organization to engage in numerous community activities. The commission is composed of a highly motivated group of Caribbean individuals representing the various Caribbean islands who are very committed to making DC a better place for all residents. They have distinguished themselves in many aspects of DC life. Under the visionary guidance of Ms. Snyder, she has motivated our commissioners to make substantial contribution in numerous areas, benefiting not only members of the community of the Caribbean sector, but residents at large. Our commission has engaged in celebrating Caribbean Heritage Month, marketing Caribbean businesses, active with Arts DC, coordinated musical festival, organized forums addressing issues related to education, safety, economic development, and has nurtured active relationship with numerous Caribbean embassies. As a result of those interactions, Caribbean embassies feel at home in our city. In addition, we have conducted educational forums to inform Caribbean residents of the myriad of services provided by DC government. Our commissioners have participated in various wards cleanup campaigns and have assisted seniors with snow removal. I hope we don't have to do that today. Through the work of the commission, DC residents have been positively exposed to the cultural elements of the Caribbean community. We collectively feel that in order to maximize the elements of our mission, the council should appropriate a workable budget allocation in order to increase the effectiveness and impact of this commission. In closing, we thank you for your keen interest towards the Caribbean community, one that is highly represented in your ward. Finally, I appreciate the opportunity to share with you and your colleagues our work, and we look forward to your continued support for our future endeavors. Off the record, I enjoy going to the post office and talking to your mom and admiring her excellent collection of African-centric earrings. And I'm glad that she recovered from her hip operation. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Next, we will hear from Bida Ali.
Good morning, Councilmember George, and for all those who are listening and testifying today. First, I have to say thank you so much, Councilmember, for taking the time for all that you do for our community, what you have done and continue to do, and your passion in helping us in the future. As I was asked, and I was aware of this performance review, I had to think through, because everything everyone has said, that it's so true. Through the leadership of Schneider, for the short time she's had that seat, she became executive director in 23, and I became a commissioner in 24. And in that short time, the amount of passion she has infused with hard work, with very limited resources and staff, but that she's done an amazing job in gathering, in engaging, and participating and bringing together, uniting the Caribbean community. I can only imagine, yes, we do have a seat at the table, but I can only imagine if we have equal resources as the other offices, what we can potentially do in the future. I won't go into the details of all the ways what she has accomplished, because those who have testified before me have done an amazing job in noting and speaking of those moments and accomplishments today. But I'm taking this time to first thank both you as our council member. I do represent as a commissioner Ward 1, representing Ben's Chili Bowl, as you all know or may know, that my father-in-law, who was from Trinidad as well, started Ben 66 years ago and has served the DMV and beyond. And I live in Ward 4, so I get the benefit of all that you do in that ward as well. So I just want to take this time to say thank you all. And I hope we have proven, the director, Kai, and the commissioners have proven that we're worthy of not only the seat at the table, but equal resources to benefit our community. Because even though we do not, I don't want to say this the wrong way. Like, we may not complain of the needs. There's great needs in our community. So I hope that you and the other council members find that we deserve that resources. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for your testimony and being here and serving. Next, we will go to Lloyd Baker.
Yes, hi everyone. How are you?
Good.
Yes, so my name is Lloyd Baker, and I will be testifying as for my business on the business side and as well on the personal side. And I just wanted to share that since Director Snyder took over that office, she has been a breath of fresh air. Just her personality and her genuineness, her authenticity in connecting people from the Caribbean, including myself, because I'm not really an extrovert, but whenever she reaches out regarding anything that's happening within the community for assistance, I'm just willing to assist her and assist the community. So on the business side, I approached the office with seeking business support. I live in Ward 4, and my business is also in Ward 4. And I approached her. I was having some challenges after the pandemic, with funding, trying to relaunch my business because we closed during the downsize to a shared commercial kitchen space. She connected me with Blackbone Project that was able to assist me with some grant funding to cover the expenses to keep my business in good standing. So that was greatly appreciated. She also connected me with District Bridges. They also offer small business support. With this new location we're relaunching, we're also opening a shared use kitchen. So she connected me with them we're in the process. They're in the process of offering some support with that. So that I'm very grateful for her warmth and genuineness for really trying to help as a Caribbean business too. I feel like I have a lot to contribute. The business is called Sweet Susumbo. We provide like entertainment. It's like when you walk into the space, you're walking into Jamaica. So I know that enhances DC, just the nightlife of DC, or the food and beverage scene of DC. So, I am proud of to do that. I also, on the personal side, she connected me with being able to volunteer, provide services to volunteer at the Safeways return of the Feast of Sharing, where we served meals to people who were in need. So she connected me with that. I was able to serve the community in that way. I was also able to help with the snow removal. When I connected with her, she asked me to make calls to show which areas had snow blocking the alleyways and the streetways. So I was able to give back in that way too. So I just would like to say, whatever support you're able, Councilmember Janeese Lewis George, you're able to give. it would be greatly appreciated. And it's a wonderful work she's doing by the grace of God. And I feel like it's very needed. She also helps connect the people of the Caribbean diaspora. I was able to go to an event that she connected me with through her office, where, you know, the Caribbean food and the music and just talking with people from the diaspora, that, you know, just a reminder of home and reminder of the culture and the food. So again, and I also must commend you to Councilmember George. I follow your newsletters and you're doing a great work. By the grace of God, please continue to do that, and whatever support that this office needs to continue to function in the way they are functioning, to connect people, which is what we need, that community, please provide that support to the best of your ability. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Thank you to this panel of witnesses for your testimony. I'm going to start with Doreen Thomas, but just letting you know, Mark and Loy and Vita, I'm coming to you second to ask questions about sort of particularly small business support, how we can support our Caribbean small businesses. And if we do grants, sort of some grants can be limited to what the function of those grants. So just start thinking as you're thinking about this question, what the best sort of use of a grant would be, so we can make sure those grants are narrowly tailored to support your small businesses. But I want to come first, Ms. Thompson. I first want to thank you for your many decades of service and advocacy on behalf of Caribbean District residents. None of us would be here today if it were not for the work of you and others who fought hard for the establishment of a new government agency that was charged to ensuring the needs of Caribbean residents were met. So I thank you for all your recommendations for MOCCA. I first want to ask about your third recommendation about grants targeted to for the empowerment of the Caribbean community. You mentioned MOCCA's Establishment Act authorizes the office to issue grants, but that hasn't happened yet. Can you talk about how the Caribbean community could benefit from targeted grants issued by MOCCA? I'll obviously access small businesses, but outside of small business grants, what other grants are you thinking we could be targeted to benefit the Caribbean community?
I'll give you an example, even though she may have forgotten who I am. Your last witness, I actually was the person who recommended that she go and talk to MOCCA. So it's clear that there is a need for some grants to the community where I've been doing this stuff as a volunteer for years. So what I'm suggesting is that, for example, if there's a grant that helps a small business specifically, wonderful. But we need in the community to fill in the gap that MOCCA cannot do just because government agencies might be limited in what they can do. And I've seen it done for other ethnic offices. For example, what I see missing is a marketing people who do a wider outreach to the community, who help to aggregate the community. It's all being done by volunteers. And those are the kind of efforts that I think are also missing in the grants process. And when MOCCA was established, what has happened in the district, just like what has happened in the African-American community, we have lost a lot of Caribbean folks in DC. But in addition, there is what I almost call the lost Caribbean people. They're second and third generation people who are here, who I'll be talking to them, and all of a sudden I'll find out that they were, the grandmother was from the Caribbean. There is an organizational effort that's needed. And because of my interest, I have stepped in and helped in a number of ways, but there ought to be some ways that this is an ongoing effort to organize the community. We need that. In addition to the fact that we, as some of your witnesses have spoken, we represent a wide variety of people. The Caribbean is filled with, someone speaking French, Spanish, various patois, on and on. We need effort. This office it just needs to be, if it's not going to be funded directly, then we ought to have these grants with a wider vision. That's what I'm thinking.
Got it. Thank you. The other thing I want to ask you is, I'm sure I would like to bring Caribbean Day back to the district. I wanted to know if you join me in this sentiment. And because if so, I'm going to need your help to do so. And I wanted to see what would you like to see sort of revived around, if it's not Caribbean Day, what are some of the things that used to happen here that really celebrate the Caribbean community that we could be reviving and bringing back to make sure that's happening?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I volunteered for your award for Georgia Avenue
Right.
Revitalization.
Yep, that's a part of it. Yep.
And so, what often happens is when an area, let's call it, becomes affordable for immigrants, which was what Georgia Avenue was. Georgia Avenue, in essence, had hit its lowest point, and the Caribbean community kept it alive, revived it. It explains, for example, why there are so many restaurants, Caribbean restaurants in the quarter historically. And you can see where we lost 2 last year. And there's nothing, wrong with gentrification and the building of housing on Georgia Avenue. And so but at the same time, it's almost as though we have to go back and try to figure out how these small businesses can survive and what is it
That's right.
that you can do to, we shouldn't have to sort of make up things for the community when the community already has a certain culture that is there and we're about to lose it. We got to figure out how to maintain it and how to commodify it, how to, that's the beauty of culture. It's virtually in the diversity of it. It's like money in the bank. It's already there. And so I'm not sure I answered your question, but
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, Georgia Avenue is a testament to the fact that, the Caribbean community, so many businesses anchor, and we lost 2, which was very heartbreaking and sad for us as a community. And so I want the Caribbean community to be reflected in Georgia Avenue's revitalization and its reimagining, that is the center of what we're looking at. So thank you. We'll follow up. I will be following up with you so we can dig deeper into what that will look like. Mark, Pine and Ginger. Where's Pine and Ginger?
Well, our parent company is registered here.
Okay.
But we're an event collective that
Oh, wonderful.
that do events that what we would call meld West African and Caribbean cultures.
Great.
So we've done events all over, so DC, Accra, Lagos, London, but
wonderful.
we're focusing on DC because of the fact that art is an institution here, so we do hybrid events. So last year we did a takeover during Caribbean American Heritage Month at the Woodrow Wilson House, and based on that and our outreach to MOCCA, we got an opportunity to participate in Art All Night at the Carnegie Library, which is otherwise known as the Apple Store. And, our focus is how we use culture to as a runway for people to connect with each other, and, how we showcase not only from a perspective of people having fun, but also from an intellectual standpoint where people can learn about not only what we've done in a cultural setting, but business, science, etc., and then use that to inspire people for the future. So yeah, that's what we do, and MOCCA definitely has been helpful in giving us a platform, in addition to our efforts. So yeah, I would, this year is the 20th anniversary of Caribbean American Heritage Month, and we're planning for something in June, and definitely having MOCCA's help, Director Snyder has been very, very you know, as I said, used our platform to amplify the work that we're doing, and that's what we want to continue to do. So, it's just building on what has existed before. So,
Yeah. Got it. I appreciate that. Loy and Vita, what can we do overall to support our Caribbean small businesses so we aren't losing our restaurants? I do not want to lose another restaurant. What is the best assistance that we can give? Sort of, if we do grants, what would you want those grants earmarked for to support Caribbean small businesses?
Would you like me to go first?
You can, yes.
Yes, so specifically, I am now adding a shared use kitchen. In addition to the Caribbean, is a Caribbean plant-based restaurant. So specifically equipment, that kitchen, that's what I need that funding for. And I'm also setting up a pop-up space in the location as well. So for those persons who are using the shared use kitchen, if they want access to the marketplace, they can rent the pop-up space for like an hour or 2 hours to showcase that as well. So equipment specifically, and I'm in the process of working with the city now to submit drawings. So permits and licensing as well.
Yeah. Got it. That's helpful. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Ms. Ali.
So thank you for asking this question, because I think it's an important question for the small businesses, not only as we're speaking of Caribbean, but probably across the board. One of the things I'm finding, it's very difficult to keep up and pay for the technology of where we are in business and the speed of business today. So I would say one would be technology. Two would be for repairs. For example, it was very cold, as you guys know, a couple of weeks ago, and our 8th Street location, even though we did all the proper things to ensure that it would not happen, 3 lines burst. We automatically had to shut down, and we're still trying to repair it because you have to find those within the walls and so forth, and it's very expensive. So not only emergency repairs, but just in general, because a lot of small businesses don't have the extra money to put into repairs in general. The third, I would say, rent relief. Rents and mortgages are very high right now. And unfortunately, after COVID, we did not go back to business as usual. So a lot of businesses are suffering, so I think those are my 3 areas I would think of right now.
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful. I appreciate that. And all of those sound about what we've been hearing or what we have heard when small businesses have reached out for support and help. And I always just reach out to Director Snyder and I'm like, help. I'm like, I don't know what to do, but here's the number, make the call. And she has always answered that call. So I always appreciate her willingness to step in and help figure out a solution or find someone who does have money to support versus if we don't have it in our coffers ourselves to be able to do that. Mr. Roland Emerson Roebuck, who Emerson Street is obviously named after.
Thank you.
You mentioned MOCCA has fostered relationships with Caribbean embassies. can you elaborate on how these unique relationships have benefited the Caribbean residents and if there are additional opportunities for collaboration between district government and international representatives of Caribbean nations?
Under the leadership of Ms. Snyder, she has been very active in interacting with numerous embassies, not just English-speaking embassies, but other Spanish-speaking embassies, et cetera. And I will also include, for the benefit of my colleague, that she has also participated in embassies where the predominant language is French. By her interaction, it helps to improve the image that these embassy staff may have of the city. So she has been very, very effective, and I have witnessed the impact that she has had in those high-level interactions. I want to add another point, and I think that we have overlooked not the plight, but we have a collective responsibility to ensure that our Caribbean youth does not become cultural zombies. By that, I mean that by promoting all of these cultural activities, we increase the self-esteem of our youth and at the same time provide them with an opportunity to be very aware of their respective cultures. So by doing more programs, by interacting more continuously with the educational system, we can then impact on a positive vein with our youth in order for them to enjoy their cultural duality, being Caribbean and Americans at the same time. And like I said, our ambassador, Ms. Snyder, has done a tremendous, tremendous job in her interaction with all these embassies, especially when they are facing emergencies such as hurricanes and earthquakes, etc. So, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, truly. Ms. Sylvie Bello, I wanted to come to you. First, I just apologize for not having a French language interpreter today. The committee and the council, we worked to try to secure an interpreter when we received the request, but they told me was unable to do so given the short time frame. I guess you're right. We wouldn't need that if we had somebody on staff to do that. So touche to that point. Thank you for mentioning the Language Access Act. I agree. Unfortunately, not enough agencies are considered covered entities under that, and that require to provide language access. And so I think it's a matter of trying to do that. But I wanted you to further elaborate on how language access will enable limited or non-English speaking Caribbean residents to engage with MOCCA. In addition to the website, I think, are there specific events or resources which it is important, particularly French or Spanish speaking residents can participate?
Thank you, Councilwoman. Yes, a staffer on language access will do more than just translation. A staffer on language access will do some of the things that my other colleagues have mentioned, supporting French speaking, Spanish speaking, and other Dutch speaking, and just other Creoles in understanding all of those covered entities that are about 39 agencies. All we just have to do is look into OLA, where OLA has not one, not two, but 3 language access staffers for one language, which is Spanish. Meanwhile, the Office of African Affairs overwhelmingly, actually every time when I call MOCCA for my Haitian community members and other French-speaking Caribbeans, they send me to the African Affairs. Meanwhile, the African Affairs budget is 10 times less than OLA's budget. So that office, the Office of African Affairs, their one language access staffer cannot support 54 African countries and a dozen of other Caribbean countries. So the Office of Caribbean Affairs needs its own language access staffer in the same way that the Asian Affairs, Latino Affairs, and African Affairs has a language access staffer. And language access, Councilwoman, does not just imply is limited to one language. It's limited. It includes engagement, outreach, and that is what that office can do. And yes, it's great that the director is engaging with embassies, but quite frankly, and director, don't be mad at what I'm about to say. I feel like there's just too much engagement with the embassies and not enough language access for the DC residents. So if we had a staffer that would focus on language access, that staffer can also liaise with the kids, school children, can liaise with the community. This office needs a language access coordinator because it is the law in DC. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My last question was about sort of celebrating and memorializing Caribbeans who have contributed to the DC community, and making sure we're doing that work. And Ms. Thompson, I'll just come back to you. I think which agency? Somebody was working on a memorial for Caribbean community. Who was that? Planning?
Office of Planning.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. I knew you knew. Did you engage in the Office of Planning and Process, and where did we end up landing with having something? Because I know that was something you.
Yes,
wanted to do.
the Office of Planning did an outreach to the community. So
Okay.
individuals could come up with a nomination. And they've been at it for years. And what tends to happen is you see it, then it disappears. What has now happened is we've gone through the process. They accepted the recommendation that I made. But after that, you've got to fund that memorial.
Gotcha.
So in essence, they're just the planning office. They don't provide the funding. And so, it would be wonderful to see this occur. It's in the plans. The public space has been allocated, not exactly the space I would have wanted, but sometimes you gotta crawl, before you walk. So yes, the space that they dedicated or selected is at Arkansas Gallatin, where those streets come in.
That's what I was trying to figure out, where they settled on. Okay, that's where they settled at. Okay.
Yeah, it's really a little too busy in a way. But who knows? We don't know what's going to happen down the road. So it would be good if you could get involved. It's in your ward.
Yep.
I wanted to focus on the office needing to do more, in my opinion, a plan. That's just my nature. I like to see stuff where what's the plan for the next fiscal year. It's clear the office is doing a lot of things, but I think if we could see some of that, for example, I don't really know who the committee members, even though I think they're called commissioners, are. I'd love to see, this person is from Ward 4, that person. So the community can also reach out to these people. That's really what I meant by the planning. I think it's, time for a wider access to MOCCA's advisory group. They do have public meetings, or they've had one or two, I think. But how do people get to know and expand, the contact with, that's what I think you're picking up when
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted. Thank you. I'll be following up on that. And it is my intention to be involved in seeing that memorial through the Office of Planning and making sure that funding is there. So just wanted to hear from you on what that process was like and whether it was something that we were proud of and excited about.
We should be. It's groundbreaking for the Caribbean community. I don't know of any other place in the country that this has occurred. And I think the district is well aware that if you don't, capture these cultures, you will, it'll be sort of like the Indians who were here, and, maybe what you get is a river, the Potomac River or something named after you. But nevertheless, there's got to be a way to tell the story of the people
Right.
who made a difference here. So that's
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much to all of our witnesses today. We truly appreciate your feedback and your testimony. I specifically asked for the Office of Caribbean Affairs within Facilities Committee because it is my objective to be intentional and active in really moving us forward. So please stay in contact with my office. Please feel free to continue to reach out to me where you see a gap, where you see a need to improve. Oversight is a 90-day period, but the work has to be continuous all days of the year. So thank you all so much for your feedback and input, and we'll be putting that to work. So thank you.
Merci. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And I remember, Ms. Thompson, I do not forget that you connected me with MOCCA.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear how you're doing. Yes.
Yes, take care.
And I will let my mom know that I saw you.
And I just found out that was your mom.
Oh, wow.
I've known her all these years. Yeah, going to the post office. Yeah.
So thank you to all of our public witnesses who testified today. We will now hear from government witnesses. We have here with us today Natalie Snyder, the Director of the Mayor's Office of Caribbean Community Affairs, and Kai Shanklin, Associate Director. It's good to see you both. Thank you so much for being here. Before you begin, I am going to administer the oath to both of you. If you could please raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give to the Committee on Facilities is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you both so much. You may begin your testimony.
Good morning, Chairperson Lewis George, members of the committee staff of the Committee on Facilities, and members of the public. I am Natalie S. Snyder, Executive Director of the Mayor's Office on Caribbean Community Affairs, also known as MOCCA. Today, I'm pleased to testify before the committee about MOCCA's accomplishments during FY24 and FY25 to date. First, I want to thank Mayor Muriel Bowser for her leadership and honor her commitment to establishing the district's historic Office on Caribbean Affairs. It is truly an honor for me and my team at MOCCA to serve the Caribbean community. The Office on Caribbean Affairs celebrated our 2-year anniversary on June 1st, 2024. Our mission remains the same: to connect with members of the Caribbean diaspora in Washington, D.C., from all 8 wards, and link members of the community to the many services offered by the district government. Our office promotes and uplifts Caribbean culture in the district by highlighting the culinary, artistic, professional, historical, and business contributions of our community. During FY24, we were able to double our outreach and engagement efforts through our office's social media accounts, to include Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, and LinkedIn, using a multi-pronged approach to help leverage the flow of information to as many Caribbean constituents as possible. Across all social media platforms, we grew followers daily with an average of 700 to 1,100 impressions each day, and as many as 2,000 to 6,000 impressions looking at a single post. We continue to share the Caribbean Connection, our newsletter, monthly, and weekly emails to reach as many Caribbean Washingtonians as possible. We've updated MOCCA's website platform to allow all district residents to learn more about the director, the office, and how to stay connected to our programs, policies, and calendar for the upcoming year. We continue to be excited by the number of residents interested in working with the advisory committee to the Office on Caribbean Community Affairs. We currently have 11 community-focused Caribbean Washingtonians leading subcommittees in housing, health, education, employment, social services, public safety, economic development, business, nonprofit, and cultural issues. With over 1,151 Caribbean connections made, we continue to build strong relationships and strategic partnerships with several associations, embassies, places of worship, student organizations, and cultural nonprofits, such as the Bahamian American Association, Washington Mid-Atlantic Region, the Grenada Cultural and Social Association, and the University of the District of Columbia Caribbean Students Association. These partnerships were all made in an effort to connect with as many stakeholders from the Caribbean diaspora as possible and to learn about the pressing issues and challenges they face and how to connect them with the resources provided by Mayor Muriel Bowser, the district government, and MOCCA. Our current community outreach and engagement efforts continue to build a strong foundation that in turn builds trust and visibility within the Caribbean community. MOCCA is committed to supporting Mayor Muriel Bowser's priorities, especially as they relate to public safety and economic development. We want to make sure that district residents and business owners are aware of our resources and opportunities to stay and build a future in the district. MOCCA has promoted and connected over 500 Caribbean residents and business owners to resources, including Mayor Muriel Bowser's 2025 Marion Berry Summer Youth Employment Program, Banking on the Future, to connect Caribbean young people with careers in finance and equip them with financial literacy skills. Mayor Muriel Bowser and the National League of Cities National Housing Summit, to connect Caribbean constituents with information dedicated to housing challenges and solutions. The Metropolitan Police Department's Camera Connect DC program, to help Caribbean business owners and residents help investigators to easily locate cameras nearest to an incident in the course of an investigation, emergency event, or emergency response. Serve DC's Safeway Feast of Sharing, to share resources such as free food and clothing during the winter holiday season with Caribbean residents. DEMPED's Special Events Relief Fund to help plan outdoor events that celebrate DC Caribbean culture. Connecting the Caribbean community to resources help the community to not only live, but thrive in DC. The district is home to members of the Caribbean diaspora hailing from at least 33 Caribbean island nations. To celebrate our diversity and culture, MOCCA attended and promoted several Caribbean island nation independence celebrations, highlighted entrepreneurship and artists in the following ways. To promote the culinary industry, we hosted a Flavors of the Caribbean night in Ward 8 with Bammy's, a modern Caribbean restaurant. The event highlighted a fusion of Caribbean spices and flavors in Washington, D.C. And to promote our artistic abilities, we hosted an event with several small local business owners, including the popular Caribbean musical group Image Band and members of the DC Caribbean Carnival for the second annual Caribbean Cultural Concert at Freedom Plaza. To promote our artistic achievements, we've partnered with Events DC and several cultural, small businesses and nonprofits such as Pine and Ginger, Caribeat, and Caribbean photographers to part on the first Caribbean Art All Night event at Carnegie Library with over 5,000 attendees. In FY25, MOCCA will continue our outreach and engagement efforts to hear directly from Caribbean constituents and will continue the process of working with Caribbean stakeholders such as the Institute of Caribbean Studies to conduct research on best practices, engaging the vast culturally diverse Caribbean diaspora in the district. In closing, I continue to be honored to have the opportunity to lead MOCCA and am grateful to Mayor Muriel Bowser, the council, you, Councilmember Lewis George, and of course, advocates like the ones that spoke today that have placed their trust in this office, and my wonderful number 2, Kai Shanklin, my associate director. As, Chairperson Lewis George and committee members, thank you for this opportunity to testify today. I look forward to answering any questions.
Here we go. Thank you so much for your testimony. Let's hop right in. Outreach is a main function of your office. I see from your testimony and responses that you all outreach has been such a huge component. Can you explain strategies MOCCA uses to ensure your message is reaching residents throughout the district, especially those east of the river?
Yes, thank you. So first, what we do is the plan, as you stated, community engagement and outreach. We want to make sure we're reaching a diverse group of constituents. So we always start with our commissioners. We have 11 commissioners, and one of our commissioners is in charge of cultural outreach. So that commissioner would say, hey, you know that we have 8, for example, restaurants in Ward 8. Let's do this activity. One of the things that we found that the residents like and appreciate, especially restaurants in Ward 8, is when we participate in ribbon cuttings, when we advocate and promote for that particular restaurant. We just did one for a Guyanese owner on Marionberry Avenue. So we have done multiple initiatives in Ward 8, but what we first do is reach out and speak with our commissioners.
And your 11 commissioners, how are they organized? Is there one for each ward, or what's the composition of your commissioners?
Yes, so we have 11. As you know, we have 8 wards, so we definitely have one per ward. And we also have at-large commissioners.
Okay.
You heard from one of them today who represents not only Ward 4, but he also is an at-large commissioner because we have 2 Ward 4 commissioners. So we have a commissioner in Ward 4 that's from the Jamaican diaspora, and then we have another commissioner, Mr. Roland Roebuck, who is from the VI in Puerto Rico. So he would be at large. And then we have, again, each commissioner, you heard from Vida Ali, she's our Ward 1 commissioner.
Great.
Ward 2 is Dr. Monica Roche. So we have Trinidadian Ward 1. Ward 2, I'm Jamaican, Dr. Monica Roche. Ward 3, we have Ramona Phillips from Guyana.
Okay.
Ward 4, you heard Commissioner Ann and Jamaican, and then you heard from Commissioner Roland Roebuck. Ward 5, we have Commissioner Andrews from Trinidad. Ward 6, we have Commissioner Ashley Smith from Guyana. Ward 7, we have Commissioner Huggins, and Ward 8, we have 2 commissioners in Ward 8, one from Haiti and one hailing from Jamaica. Actually, I should say their names in case they listen to this.
Yeah.
From Haiti, Commissioner Ismond Florent, and from Jamaica, Commissioner Alicia Francis.
Okay.
And they all had a subcommittee.
Okay, wonderful. And we've heard feedback that people want to know who the commissioners are. Is there a way we can put the commissioners, their names and who they represent sort of on the website somewhere where community members can find out who their commissioner is so they can be sort of a point of contact within the wards or at large?
I believe we can, but I should say we publish a monthly newsletter that includes all our commissioners.
Okay.
We have our commissioners on our social media, all our social media
Yeah.
platforms. We have various events with our commissioners. We have an open public meeting, but yes, we can and have no problem with doing more to help the community get to know each of the commissioners.
Wonderful. In the office's annual report, the events heat map showed 44 events held in Ward 2, with the second highest numbers of events at Ward 7 at 7, which was in Ward 8, and then 4 events in Ward 7. Why does MOCCA have so many events in Ward 2? Are they at the Wilson Building as the reason? And what happened to Ward 4, given our large population?
So as you're probably aware, we definitely promote downtown. Without downtown, we want to make sure that we keep, of course, businesses and constituents in all 8 wards. But one of the things we try to highlight is the downtown area, which most of the downtown area is Ward 2. And that's how we end up with, how many did you say, 40 plus?
44
44
in Ward
plus.
2, and then 7 in
And-
Ward 8, 4 in Ward 7.
And as someone mentioned earlier, as you know, there are a lot of nonprofit businesses and embassies in Ward 2. Each of the embassies has a community outreach person. And so when the community outreach person reaches out to our office, we try as best as we can, either one of us or the secretary's office, of course, because she deals with primarily the embassies, but because they're doing community outreach, either one of us or one of our commissioners attends. So we have the embassies, a lot of them in Ward 2. We do have, which we're happy about, a lot of downtown businesses coming up that we didn't realize. And so, and I would say, I feel really good about that number. It was 40 for office of 2. That's pretty good. So for
The number of events are good.
Yes,
Um,
for, as you say, for Ward 4, so some of the things we've done in Ward 4 is, as you stated earlier, there are a lot of businesses. There's a lot of Caribbean restaurants. So we have connected, for example, like Peaches Restaurant with grants. I believe, I'm trying to remember if Peaches is on a main street or not.
they're on the Parks Main Street. Yep.
Okay, and so for Ward 4, we also did a ribbon cutting with a Trinidadian restaurant in Ward 4. So we would be happy to do many more in Ward 4, but our focus for FY24 definitely to promote businesses downtown.
Okay. I always say this to the mayor as well. It's like, I know we love downtown, but don't forget uptown.
You're right.
And so in that effort, I'm just going to ask, can MOCCA make a priority for fiscal year 25 to just even those events out across the wards, especially in Ward 4 and 5, which both have large populations of Caribbean residents?
Thank you. Yes, we will do that. And you were speaking earlier about the Office of Planning. One of the things we were hoping is to actually get the commemorative art program in Ward 4 and to focus a lot of efforts on doing activities at that site, which is in Ward 4.
Great. And then in addition to in-person events, I know you all, I see MOCCA had 30 virtual events. And I think now that we are in that world, it's important to have both virtual events and also in-person events. And so I'm going to ask that as we look at virtual and in-person events, that we spread those out again across the population, across the ward for fiscal year 25.
Thank you.
I'm glad to see the Caribbean Connection. I love it. The agency's newsletter continues to grow. Can you share sort of what information is shared in the newsletter, as well as how residents can subscribe? And what are we doing to get subscribers up?
Okay, so I'll answer the last question first. One of the things that we do at the many events that we host, whether virtual or in person, we have a little QR code. So every single event, we either write down in person the person's email address, et cetera, to have them subscribe to the newsletter, or simply have them take a photo and they're instantly subscribe to the newsletter. So at every single event, we push subscriptions for our newsletter. The best way right now is if you reached out, if you sent an email to MOCCA, MOCCA, @dc.gov. It'll go into both mine and my associate director's inbox, and we'll immediately add you to the newsletter. As far as what our content is, we try to make it local, but also global because of who we are. So for example, our February newsletter, as you probably are aware, we had a national hero, Marcus Garvey from Jamaica. So we mentioned that as part of, we're proud of Marcus Garvey. And then we also tied it into what's happening locally. So one of the things we were doing locally is we're thinking about doing a Marcus Garvey Service Day. So we tie a global event into a very local event. We also push, of course, Mayor Muriel Bowser's all the events we have upcoming. Like I said, the Summer and Youth Employment Program.
Mhm.
We have a lot of students, like the Caribbean Students Association, or just students around in high school that want to be connected to financial literacy. We also promoted in the newsletter, like our safety program. We're trying to do that every resident knows about the free camera rebate program.
Mhm.
And we also have a commissioner that's in charge of public safety. So usually if we discuss a certain
Mhm.
initiative in the newsletter, we try to link that initiative to the commissioner that's actually in charge of that program.
Okay. And you know, how many subscribers do you all have now, Gina?
We have the 1151. Yes.
Okay. Awesome. All right, we have 1151, so
We start with 0. and then
2,000.
Yeah.
2,000 by next year, I think
Yes.
is a fair number.
Easily.
All right,
easily.
let's
Thank
do it.
you.
We heard about language access during the public
Yes.
testimony. I'll speak with Councilmember Doe, who has oversight of the Office of Human Rights, which implements the Language Access Act, about expanding the number of agencies designated as covered entities. I know the Mayor's Office of Deaf, Deafblind, and Hard of Hearing. Another community affairs under this committee is also not a covered entity. But while I work out that on the legislative side, is there anything MOCCA can do in the meantime to improve outreach and resources for limited and non-English speaking residents?
So thank you. I appreciate the young lady, Miss Sylvia, bringing that up, because she did mention that sometimes when the community thinks about Caribbean residents, they might think of someone as myself that only speaks English, when we do have various dialects. The thing with the various dialects in Washington, D.C., I'm pretty sure you have to have at least 500 of those residents speaking that language, and that's the only language they speak. So in reference to, let's say, members of the Haitian diaspora, what we have found is either one, we don't have 500 residents that only speak Haitian Creole. And we have to be very careful also with just stating that we want a French interpreter, because they might not actually speak French. They're speaking a Haitian Creole. So I will definitely go back and look at what we can do to help out, because we want to make sure everyone gets access to the resources.
Got it. Thank you for that feedback. And again, as we're going to speak to Councilmember Nadeau, would love your input or insight as to sort of what we should talk to her about as far as expansion of Language Access Act and what that should look like, if there's any legislative updates that need to be made. You mentioned MOCCA doubled engagement efforts through social media. I'm so glad to see more district residents who are and are not Caribbean learning more and connecting about your office in that way. For everyone watching, can you share where MOCCA can be found online?
Yes, so we have several social media platforms. First, Facebook, which is the Mayor's Office on Caribbean Community Affairs. If you just type that in, you'll find our Facebook social media page. We also have X, which is MOCCA DC, MOCCA DC. We have Instagram, which is also MOCCA DC, MOCCA DC, and LinkedIn, MOCCA DC.
Got it. Awesome. Continue to do that outreach and that connection. You all have already been doing such a good job with that. And so I think continuing that and letting people know,
Thank you.
because different generations are on different platforms. So if you're going to reach all the generations, you got to be on each individual platform to be able to reach those generations.
I agree with you 1000%. We have a lot of small business owners that want to promote, and I'm always shocked that I don't see that they're on social media. So I say that's one of the tools, as you stated, that can help connect with a variety of different ages. Thank you, Councilmember.
Of course. We talked a lot about this today. During public testimony, we heard about the desire for MOCCA to issue grants as it's authorized to do under the Establishment Act. Director, do you know if there's if there's a reason other than cost that MOCCA has not yet begun issuing grants? And can MOCCA explore what issuing grants would look like?
So MOCCA is under the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs, and I believe it's about 5 of our agencies that all funding goes through the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs. So if we have constituents that, let's say, need grants, we research where those grants could be. And maybe those grants are listed under one of our sister agencies, or maybe those grants are listed under, like I was saying, DEMPED earlier, with the Special Events Task Force. So that's how we work with the grants program, is to connect our residents to what's currently available. We ourselves do not give out grants.
Okay. So you're authorized to, you're authorized to do that?
No, we're not.
Oh, okay. All right. So if I'm give example, if I put money, I would have to put it into the greater community affairs office.
Yes, we receive all our funding through the Mayor's Office on Community Affairs.
Okay. Okay. Got it. All right. Because we're just trying to find a way that it would, if we earmark to the Caribbean Affairs office, then how we would be able to do that. But I guess we could wrap that language in the budget.
And I'll follow up on that question to get you a more detailed answer to that.
Okay. And then how have you been able to do that? Sort of I guess, since you haven't used your grant making authority, what grants have you connected to the Caribbean Affairs office, and what agencies have those come from?
So like one of the ones I just mentioned was a Special Events Task Force. So we put on, this year would be our third Caribbean Cultural Concert. So we connect community stakeholders and members to something like the Special Events Task Force. And they themselves have grants, and that helps to promote and put on a program.
Okay. Has any other agency, sort of like DSLBD
Yes.
or DEMPED or anybody else, have you been able to connect a Caribbean community member to one of their grants?
Yes.
And they received it?
Yes, we have some of our restaurants like Jerk at Night, they connected to DEMPED. As you stated earlier, we're also working with DEMPED to create a list of all the Caribbean businesses, not just restaurants, because I know I was speaking earlier a lot about restaurants,
Yeah.
but we have a lot of Caribbean businesses outside of restaurants that we want to promote and connect them to, as I said earlier, perhaps Main Street grants, the bids, the DSLBD. We connected, I'm trying to remember, the Green Book. We just had last year we connected several of our constituents to resources via the Mayor Muriel Bowser's Green Book.
Okay. One thing, if you guys can keep track of, sort of, if you make a connection, for example, like Jerk at Night or any of our businesses and you connect them with DSLBD or DEMPED or whoever, if Office of Public Safety and Justice, or whoever has it, if you connect them to a grant, like to add that on a tracker for you all, so that we can at least connect and say, this is where it will go. But then on the back end, I would like to talk about what it would look like for you all to have, you have grant making power. If I look at the language, how we would make it so that you all could actually exercise that power that you have, and earmark. Because then that if I earmark you funding, then that funding, you should be issuing grants directly to Caribbean community members, and versus vis-a-vis another district government agency.
Yes, thank you. So we have, we created in our office the MOCCA Ultimate Database. So every single person that we speak with, whether it's the walk-in or someone calls us, whatever the resources that they need, whether it's grants or constituent services, we record that, then we connect them to the agency, and then we follow up. Because sometimes when they succeed, they just don't call us back.
Right.
So we don't
Okay.
know if it's happening or not. So completely understand. And yes, we're working on that.
Got it. I appreciate that. And I want to be helpful and supportive in that regard. And as we come into budget season, we'll have another budget hearing. So when we come back for budget hearing, I would like to hear if you guys can go look back now, I would like to hear during budget, sort of if some grants have been issued, what they were, so that if we do put funding for you all to issue grants, we know sort of what to earmark them for particularly. I wanted to ask about, we talked a little bit about this, but the planning the Caribbean Memorial. What has MOCCA's involvement been in planning the Caribbean Memorial, and where are we in the process? Sort of what is necessary for us to move forward?
So thank you. So the Office of Planning reached out to the Mayor's Office on Caribbean Community Affairs to one, as Ms. Thompson earlier stated, to ask us about the site location. As you know, in off of Georgia Avenue, where the historical carnival started, many of the community members wanted that site. But for whatever reason, we had to move further down to, I think it was Arkansas or Kansas. Arkansas and Georgia Avenue. So we also brought out all of our commissioners to see the site. We also spread the word to community members that this is the site that the Office of Planning is considering to host the commemorative artwork. After that, we promoted to the community to actually vote on what artwork they would actually like to see at that site. So there were, I believe, 3 submissions. The one that most of the community members voted for was, I believe, the Queen of the Caribbean. And then lastly, which is where we're at, is, as Ms. Thompson said earlier, funding.
Okay.
So the Office of Planning does the logistic work, partner with our office, we spread the word, but at the end, if you don't have the funding to put the artwork up, it stops right there. And that funding usually comes from the community.
Oh, the funding comes from the community?
Stakeholders, advocates.
And ever, okay. If possible, before budget, I'll reach out to Office of Planning, but I would also just, because it is Caribbean focused, I would like to know what that number is of funding that we're looking for and what the parameters around funding is, whether it has to be a public-private, when I say public-private, I mean public-government
Yes.
relationship, and what that looks like to be able to move this forward, if you could. Lastly, Director, you know why I'm here. I would like a Caribbean Day to come back. And I'm not just saying it, I'm very serious. A part of revitalizing and reimagining Ward 4 and parts of Ward 1. But really where it started as a home was for us to have that. What conversations have you already had around having a Caribbean Day? I mean, we can start it smaller than the previous one was. Okay.
Yes. So
like we can do a few, like 3 or 4 blocks, and then we can expand it to multiple blocks. But I think if we start somewhere, we can make it work.
Councilmember Lewis George, you are very in tune with the Caribbean community. So if I speak to 9 out of 10 district residents, whether they are Caribbean or not, once they find out this is the Office on Caribbean Community Affairs, the first thing they say is they want to know about the Caribbean Carnival.
That's right.
As a as a proud older person now, but younger person that did go to every single Caribbean Carnival until I enlisted into the Air Force, I definitely, it's something that the community misses, they feel, and they want to happen. So as soon as our office was created, and one of the things we did was connect with the original founders of the DC Caribbean Carnival.
Okay.
So the very first thing that we did was discuss, because it's not only the original members of the DC Caribbean Carnival that want it, it's a lot of other folks that want, and they feel like they were also part of the carnival. So we want this to be an organic coming from the community versus coming from district government. So one of the things we partnered with the DC Caribbean Carnival to do is put on the Caribbean Cultural Concert. Just as a taster, as you said, we can start off just a little taste. So we put on the Caribbean Cultural Concert, and I have expressed to many of the Caribbean community that we're all ready. That's what I'll leave it at. We're all ready, and everyone.
So wait, where is the concert? Where's the Caribbean Cultural Concert held?
The Caribbean Cultural Concert is held on Freedom Plaza.
Okay.
And I should note, because a lot of folks don't know this, the Caribbean Carnival actually started downtown. And so, so and that's fine with
Yeah.
Ward 4, because I understand your
You already
perspective.
know.
I already know. And it's something, I don't know if any of the speakers said earlier, sometimes people look at the carnival and they think just partying and having fun, but it definitely was an economic booster
Right.
for the businesses in the Caribbean community. And so we take it seriously, and we're working, my answer is we're working with the original founders to see what we can do. But
Okay.
right now, we've put on the Caribbean Cultural Concert.
Okay. Because even to Mr. Roebuck's point about making sure the next generation is aware of their history and the diaspora and engaged in wanting to learn and engaged in being proud of who they
Yes.
are, where they're from. You know, that was my first introduction to the diaspora was when I was younger. And I was like, what, you know, we got to really learn. It was in addition to the fun, there was a learning piece to that. You know, we had stories told, you know, I remember being a kid and there was, you know, a part of the section was storytelling and you could sit down and learn, and be told stories. So, I've created a community group together, the Georgia Avenue, Revitalization Group, and I'm going to create a subcommittee within that group, for Caribbean Day, because I would like to see us like buy our Caribbean businesses. So like, you know, no reason why a Crown Bakery, like why we're not centered around the businesses that, you know, we have on the corridor. And I know I can get support from our small business owners in our community. So let's work on what that can look like. Because in addition to community doing it, we still would have to get permits, deal with public safety, just sort of some of the same issues that come up when we do any other events in the ward, like Porch Fest or something like that, for example. We still have to have government included in that conversation. So would like to see how we can move that forward as well. So Ms. Doreen Thompson brought up a point that I think is important, which is she wants to see, and please, we need a roadmap. We need a plan. What is your plan for 2025? What are some of the goals you have that will be metrics that you can meet? But when we come back next oversight, you can say, I said I wanted to do this and I did this.
So that was a great point that Ms. Thompson brought up. And we do every single year, we have a look ahead. And in the look ahead, we
Okay.
State exactly what are the 4 things we'd like to get done for that particular year. So 4 of the accomplishments we would like to have by the end of FY25. One is around public safety. With public safety, as I said, we have a commissioner that leads the public safety committee. We try to connect district residents, which not just try, we've already connected district residents to camera rebate programs, to also, you probably are aware of when we were doing the dash cams for Uber Eats or Lyft, different drivers. We have a lot of students that were doing that to get additional funds. So 1 was public safety, which is we're working on. 2, education. We have a chair of education. We have worked in different district schools to connect the constituents, community members, the constituents and community members to their heritage. We had a reading program where we brought in different books from different Caribbean nations, and we read to the children. We also, again, communication. We can do a lot of things, but if folks are not receiving the information, it's I don't feel successful in the program. So our big push, something that I thought about for this year, was the director with the diaspora. Meaning to go out and meet constituents where they're at. So that's one of the big pushes we're doing. And also our 4th one, again, is communication. The director with the diaspora is about outreach, meeting the community where they're at, and communication building more, as you said earlier, on our newsletter. And also, we want to launch our YouTube page because we want to get into the maybe like a MOCCA minute, one video that is quickly, if there's a grant we learn about, we just quickly promote the grant, a video, and share it on our platform.
Okay, got it. So I see your plan ahead. Adding to your plan are the things we discussed today. So expanding language access and support. We also discussed putting on the website ways, even it's in the newsletter, so ways for people to know who their commissioners are so they can connect with their commissioners. We also talked about expanding your reach to have evenly spread events throughout the wards, and giving emphasis to those wards with the largest population of the diaspora represented. And we also discussed a real plan. Well, when you say we wanted to come from the community for Caribbean Day, I would like to discuss a real plan for the steps to what the steps would look like for us to realize a Caribbean Day with community and with government as a partnership. So I'm adding that to the list. Did I miss anything? I think those are ones we discussed. And grant issuing, first and foremost, was grant issuing. So what we're gonna look through budget right now and see, but we wanna we'll talk with the mayor, the greater office of the mayor's community affairs, to see how they best would like us to form this or frame this. But we would like to see sort of direct grants issued that are earmarked specifically to support the Caribbean community, whether it be a small business or art or some type of venture, a restaurant, whatever it may be that directly supports the Caribbean community. So we want to see you exercise that authority, especially since you have 11 commissioners. You all have the ability to review grant applications and see who you all want to give money that would be earmarked to you too. So you have the ability and the power to do that. So I think those are our big five that we can look at this year and then come back next year. And I'll remember it so that we're going to start with these five as the questions for next year. So that way we know we're on track to do it. With that, Director, I always give agencies last word. Let me say this. Next year, I need y'all to have testimony to me on time, in a timely fashion, the questions and answers, so that we can prepare for the hearing more thoroughly. So we'll add that to the list of improvements that will be made for next year. With that, I always give the last word to the director. Director, if you would close us out with any closing statement you may have.
I just want to thank you, council member, for, as you stated, you're council member for Ward 4, and there are a lot of members of the Caribbean diaspora in Ward 4. So I'd like to thank you for your leadership and advocacy within the Caribbean community. And of course, the stakeholders that spoke today. There was one person that said I would get upset. I will not get upset about anything, because it's good for the council members, the community, the district, for everyone to hear exactly how constituents feel. So I appreciate every single person that called in to testify or came in person. I always, of course, the MOCCA agencies led by Director Jackie Reyes, we have about 13, 14 agencies, and within the Mayor's Office of Caribbean Community Affairs, we have to be very strategic with our partnerships, and our sister agencies, no matter what we need, they always have our back. So we're very appreciative of the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs, and along with our sister agencies. And of course, I like to call Ms. Kai Shanklin my backbone, because she helps me with all of this. And we will make sure that, as you stated earlier, I think you had 5 and turned it into 6, that we're on top of it for next year.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you to all our public witnesses, our government witnesses. This concludes today's fiscal year 2024 performance oversight hearing on the Mayor's Office on Caribbean Community Affairs. For the public, if you would like to submit written testimony for the record, please do so by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, February 18th by uploading your testimony on the council's hearing management system or emailing facilities@dccouncil.gov. The time is 12:44 p.m. and this hearing is adjourned.